Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Emily, and this is my channel, Books for Life, and today I'm here with part 2 of my March wrap-up. So I read 9 books during the month of March. I participated in the March Mystery Madness, where I read 4 different books for that. Those books were Final Girls by Riley Sager, These Shallow Graves by Jennifer Donnelly, No Exit by Taylor Adams, and Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. If you are interested in hearing more of my thoughts of those particular books, please check out my first video about my March Mystery Madness wrap-up, and I talk a little bit more about what they are about and my thoughts, and I give you my star rating. Now for today's video, I'm just going to talk about the other 5 books that I read during the month of March, the ones that were not included in my March Mystery Madness TBR and wrap-up. So I had a pretty successful reading month for the month of March. I was really impressed with myself. This is the most amount of books that I've read all year. I am hoping that April will beat it, but maybe it won't. So anyway, I started off by reading the final book in the Merwood series by Jeff Wheeler. And so this was The Scourge of Merwood, and this was the last book. I'm not going to tell you anything because I don't want to spoil the other 2. You can check out my February and my January wrap-ups about like what those ones were a little bit more about. But anyway, Jeff Wheeler has created this world in which there are these caste systems, and the lowest of the low of the caste system would be the wretches. Now, wretches are children who have been like cast aside by their parents, that have not been claimed by their parents, and so they are dropped off typically at like abbeys where they were raised. It's kind of like a church-ish thing, but it's not. Like, that's what it reminds me of. An abbey is kind of that actually like participates in the magic system. It's called the medium. And what I think is kind of cool is like the medium is a character in itself, this magic system. Like, it is sentient, and because it is sentient, it has kind of decided like that people have kind of gone bad, and it's going to like wipe out those that are. And so there is this blight that has happened, and it is up to Leah to help to try to save essentially the world. I really did enjoy this. I actually liked books 2 and 3 more than the first book, and so I believe I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's definitely a YA fantasy series. If it's one you have and you're wondering if you could put it in your classroom, I would absolutely. I don't own this. My friend Tom, thank you again, Tom, allowed me to borrow this, and if I did own it, I would absolutely put it in my classroom. It is completely appropriate. I really did enjoy this. He also gave me The Banished of Merwood, which is a companion series. This is the only one that he gave me, so I actually might pick up the other ones in this series and continue on with Jeff Wheeler's works because I did enjoy this one so much. So then the next book that I listened to was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, and isn't this cover just gorgeous? I absolutely love this cover. I wish the book was as beautiful as the cover is, but I actually didn't mind this. I went into this not expecting a lot because it has gotten like just terrible review since it came out. I am happy to finally have it off my TBR shelf, so I will be replacing it with something new over here. But this is a urban fantasy. It's like magical realism, and it's about this girl whose name is Alice Proserpine, and she has kind of like moved from place to place to place for her entire childhood, and she finally settles down in New York City. But then her mom is taken, and she has to try to figure out what she's going to do, how she's going to save her mom. Now, switch gears. Her grandmother is pretty famous because she wrote this book, and this book is all about like these really dark fairy tales, and so you can't even get your hands on a copy of this book. And so she owns this estate called the Hazelwood, and the only place she can think of to go find her mother is to go to the Hazelwood. And so that is the story. It goes from there. You like can read 2, I think, full versions of like the stories within the book that her grandmother wrote, and I would love to get my hands on a copy of her novel. It was like there's the stories that you got were like mind-blowing fairy tales, and they are not your typical. They are dark, they are gruesome. There's no like moral, there's nothing like positive to gain from this. Like, oh, the characters were just like in it for their own personal agendas. And so I would love to read more of that. I would think it would be really cool if there was like a companion book to this with just those stories. I would absolutely pick that up and read it. But overall, I think I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was okay. There could have been so much more, but it wasn't as bad as I had anticipated. I think just because I really anticipated like it being really, truly awful. And then I listened to another Christina Lauren book. So if you watched my February wrap up, you know that I became a little obsessed with her and I read like 2 or 3 of her books. And so I continued with that. So this one I read My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. And I didn't actually realize that Christina Lauren is actually 2 people and that's just their pen name. So anyway, I really loved it. It's just another really super cute chick lit novel. It's definitely not one that I put in my classroom library. By the way, the Hazelwood is fine to put in your classroom library. I will be adding it there actually now that this video is done. But I would not put a Christina Lauren novel. I just feel like I'd be asking for trouble because there are some steamier scenes. But this is about a girl who she's a college professor and she has a really like close group of guy friends and she ends up hooking up with one of her close guy friends and like their budding romance kind of goes from there. And they kind of don't like want to admit that this happened because they're not sure like how other people will react to it, how they themselves are reacting to it. And they end up all deciding to join like an online dating site and it's funny, it's quirky, the characters are enjoyable. There's no like real depth to this. As I found with all of her others, they're just super cute, like just fun, cutesy, slow burn romance novels that are kind of relatable in the sense that they take place now and they're not like extreme, like romance things that would never ever happen. Like, you know, it's a contemporary romance. And then, you guessed it, I listened to another Christina Lauren novel. And I might be listening to a few in April too, stay tuned. But I don't know, I'm loving them. So I'm just like eating up all of their books. So then I listened to Love in Other Words. Now this one definitely has the most amount of depth than all the other books I've listened to. I think I give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Now this book is about a girl who actually like it goes back and forth. So you follow 2 different timelines. You follow present, which right now this young woman is a doctor and she works in pediatrics and specifically, she works with like babies who are having extreme health issues. So she's like the pediatric ER. And so like that's her current job. And then you flash back to 10 years ago, no, more like 10 to 15 years ago when she was in her early teens and she's struggling because her mom has recently passed. And, you know, it's hard to be a teenager, but it's really hard to be a teenager without your mom. And so her dad ends up like buying this house that's like a getaway home for them for like the long weekends and things like that. And she ends up meeting a boy next door and this boy next door kind of becomes her best friend. And though he is really there for her to help her cope with what has happened with her mom and help her like get back on her feet and out of her shell. And you like see this budding friendship and then you see her as like mid to late 20s and she actually hasn't spoken to him in like 11 years. And this is like the first time that she has seen him in 11 years and then the story goes from there. So it was really cool to see the 2 different timelines and watch the story unfold. I really enjoyed this. It was heartfelt. It was another like, you know, cutesy, chick lit, slow burn romance type of story that I just ate it up. And I'm pretty impressed with myself for this next one. I actually read the March Owl Crate book in March. I don't know the last time I actually read a book box book the month that I got the book box. And I ended up reading For Dead Queens by Astrid Schulte. And part of this was because I didn't love No Exit by Taylor Adams, which I talked about in my first March Mystery Madness video. You can look it up there. So I kind of thought like this would tie in with that whole March Mystery Madness because it is a mystery book. Okay, so you have this world. It's called Quadera, I think that's how you say it. So you can see that this world is kind of like broken up into 4 parts. And so each part values something different. And so there is a queen for each part. And then these queens together rule the entire place. And so she is actually from, the main character, Carolee, is actually from Victoria. She ends up like kind of sneaking in to Iona, I'm not sure, and she ends up like stealing this comm case. And so Iona actually like focuses on technology, and each like place focuses on something else. And so anyway, she ends up stealing this comm case, and she ends up ingesting the comms that are in it. And when you ingest them, what happens is you actually record memories onto these comms, and when she ingests them, she sees that all 4 queens have died. And so the story is going from there. And so the 4 queens of Quadera have died. So now they have to try to figure out who killed the queens and how. So it definitely fit in with my March Mystery Madness. I did enjoy it. However, I don't know, I thought it started off pretty good, and then it just like went downhill from there. This could have been an awesome novel. I thought the ending was just flat and predictable. I thought the one character was extremely whiny and extremely arrogant and annoyed the crap out of me, and I could not stand her. And I don't know, I didn't love it. And so I am disappointed. I only gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I think it had the potential to be great. I'm really happy that it is a standalone because I wouldn't keep reading the rest of the series. And I am going to add it right to my classroom library because what else would I do with it? And it's definitely appropriate for the classroom. I don't know. It started off so good, and then it just went from there. So I was very disappointed. But yeah, so these are all of the books that I read in March. Again, let me know in the comments below, what did you read? Did you have a chance to read your Owl Crate book box if you got one? Question, do you read the books that you get in book boxes the month that you get them? Are you really good about that? Because I really suck at that. So let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and I'll be back for more bookish videos soon. Keep reading!